Good morning, guys. Good morning, everyone. I am Almirji Cadorna, and for today's lesson, we will tackle about Republic Act 10121, or also known as Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Act of 2010.
First, we have here the rule number 21, which is the annual report. Under on it is the Section 1 deadline for the annual report. The National Council, through the OCD, is required to submit an annual report on the progress of the NDRRMP to the Office of the President, the Senate, and House of Representatives within the first quarter of the following year. In simpler terms, these rules means that the OCD must give a yearly update on how the NDRRMP is working to the country's highest leader, which is the President, the Senate, and the House of Representatives. These updates needs to be given within the first 3 months of each year. Section 2. Inputs of other agencies to the annual report. All member agencies to the NDRRMP must submit their annual reports to the OCD as Secretariat by January of each year. The OCD then consolidates and analyzes these reports before submitting them to the NDRRMC chairperson. This section means that all the different government agencies involved in the NDRRMP or National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Plan have to give their own yearly reports to the OCD. The OCD, which is like the main organizer, then takes all these reports and puts them together. After that, the OCD gives this combined report to the head of the NDRRMC, who is like the overall leader for the disaster management. So basically, everyone involved in the NDRRMP has to tell the OCD what they did that year, and then the OCD give a summary of all that to the boss. Rule 22. Congressional Oversight Committee. Section 1. Functions. The Congressional Oversight Committee, established by the Act, is responsible for monitoring and overseeing the implementation of its provisions. The National Council can propose remedial legislation to this committee. So, this section is about a special committee called the Congressional Oversight Committee. This committee's job is to make sure that the rules and laws in the Act are being followed properly. The National Councils can suggest changes to the laws if they see problems. Section 2. Period for review. The Congressional Oversight Committee will conduct a sunset review of the Act within 5 years of its enactment, or sooner if necessary. This review will assess the Act's achievements, impact, and the performance of its implementing agencies, with the goal of identifying potential areas for legislative areas. So, this section is about a special review called a sunset review that happens after 5 years of the law being placed. The Congressional Oversight Committee will look at how well the law works, what is accomplished, and how the different agencies involved in their jobs. The goal is to see if the law needs to be changed or updated. Next rule is transitory provision. Section 1. Existing practices guidelines. Pending the development and approval of the necessary guidelines cited in the Act and these rules, example, accreditation of volunteers, etc., within the period specified herein, existing practice and procedures shall be maintained. This section is saying that until new rules and guidelines are made, like how to officially recognize volunteers, the old ways of doing things will still be used. So for now, everything will continue as it has been until the new rules are ready. Next rule, separability of clause. Section 1. Validity of provisions. If any provision of these rules shall be held unconstitutional or invalid, the other provision not otherwise affected shall remain in full force and effect. This section is saying that even if one part of this rule is found to be wrong or against the law, the rest of the rules will still valid. Rule 25. Amendatory Clause. Section 1. Amendment. The National Council, through its chairperson, may cause the amendment of these implementing rules and regulations as the need arises. This section basically says that the National Council, through its leader, can change these rules whenever they need to. Now, let's move on to the last rule. Rule number 26, Effectivity Clause. Section 1, Publication. These rules shall take effect 15 days following the complete publication thereof in a newspaper of general circulation. This section means that these rules will become official and start being used 15 days after they are printed in a newspaper that lots of people read. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for listening.